Mortars can be fired indirectly as well as directly. The difference between indirect fire and direct fire is that in indirect fire scenarios you cannot get your own eyes on the target. So the sight system itself cannot calculate how to deploy the bomb and how to set the mortar up in order to hit the target. Instead, we have to calculate the data for ourselves. First of all, we need a position that we want to engage to, and once we know the position of the enemy, we can then calculate the direction and elevation required for the mortar in order to fire. On C-tab here then we have a target. If you put our mouse over the target like so, using the C-tab map tools, you can see in the bottom right corner of the C-tab we now have the grid reference of the target, so 061054. We know it is 13 meters above sea level. It is 1.55 kilometers from us on a heading of 085. So we can use that distance, that bearing, and eventually the height above sea level to get our rounds on target. We do that using the ACE 82mm range table. What we've got here, a list of ranges according to different charge bands, going all the way out to the maximum operational range of the mortar of approximately 4,000 meters. Different columns represent different things. We have range, the elevation that you would set the mortar to hit a target if it was at the same height as you. We then have the deviation of elevation per 100 meters. What that means is this number needs to be either added or subtracted from the base elevation in order to hit different altitudes. And finally, we have the time of flight in seconds. None of the other data is accurately calculated yet, and so your rounds will never hit bang on the target. If there's a crosswind, a tailwind or a headwind, it will cause some variation, but it will never be very much. For our target then, our range was 1,550 meters, 1.55 kilometers. And as we look down the charge card, we could see that we could hit that here on charge 2. It'll give us a 40-second flight time for the round. What you want to do is use the lowest charge possible. If we go to charge 1 and look at the same range, it's only going to be a 25-second flight time. It's obviously preferable. So we need to set our base elevation to 1148 mils. And you're going to want to write this down because we are going to have to do a bit of maths with it later on. With that base data in mind, we then need to make a note of our deviation figure, which is 18. We are going to need that in a sec to calculate the actual elevation. And that's all the data we need from the range card, so we can just close that. Now, first of all, we're going to set our direction to the target. C-tab gave us it in degrees, so we'll just switch to degrees. I'm going to turn to 085, and that's us lined up. Now we need to switch back to mils for the elevation figure. If we open up our map, we can see that our elevation is around about 140 meters. It doesn't have to be precise, because if you think back to the range table, it's per 100 meters of deviation. So the closest 100 is good enough. And we know the target is at 13 meters because C-tab told us so. So we have a 100 meter deviation. How do we know which way to set the elevation, however? The simple mnemonic for this is higher is higher. If you are higher than the target, then you need to make your elevation higher. As in, you would add the 18 to the target. So, for us to hit our target then, we have to take our base elevation of 1148. You have to add 18, which will give us 1166. So we set ELV to 1166. Finally, make sure we're firing the right charge, which is charge 1. And then we fire. The shot time was 21 seconds, which is obviously going to take a little while to get here. This is what we're firing at, this little hunter. There's our little Zeus marker all the way over there. So it's just a case of waiting for the round to come in now. Remember, the target will not be a direct hit. If it is, you are very, very lucky. Mortars are not accurate weapons, they're not designed to be accurate weapons. Firing a single shot like this is impractical. More often than not, you would fire multiple. And there we have it. One shot, more or less on target. At that point, you would probably be called to fire for effect, and you would saturate the area with bombs.